Hey everybody, so I thought I'd do a little quick video for you in relation to what I just posted. Now, just a quick disclaimer, this is not actually my work, this is the work of Robert Edward Grant, so I would highly recommend going and checking out his work. He is a phenomenal man who's been doing a lot of study with this sort of stuff, and he's written a book, Philomath. Go have a look at it if this stuff interests you. But anyway, so what I wanted to discuss is that recently he posted up a how-to guide of how to find the or how to create the septagon, which is the seven-pointed polygon from Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man and the what he's now dubbed the Da Vinci construction box. And so I wanted to show you basically what that is. So this is a printout of Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, and then I've just gone in and I've actually redrawn something that Robert actually did in one of his posts. As for me, I like doing this sort of stuff. I like to follow what other people are doing, but I don't just like watching and observing. I love actually writing it out myself, and I highly recommend you do this sort of stuff too, because if you're trying to understand something, it's good to actually figure it out as well. So don't get me wrong, I still have no idea about algebra or geometry. It's not my strongest suit, but what I want to show you is basically one of his discoveries a while back was rediscovering how he squared the circle here and using only a compass and square. So I'm gonna put this over the top so you can get a bit of a representation of what's actually going on here. And I know it's a little bit out, but what this is just a bit of tracing paper, and I've gone in and I've actually added all the lines up. And so what you see here is, first and foremost, you have the circle, then we have the square, and then there are certain dissecting lines. So dissecting the line from here to this point here. Now to find that, first and foremost, you got to go from the very corner here straight across the central guts of the circle and the square, do another one across the middle, another one here, and another one across. And then what happens is you outline this intersecting point here. And from that point, all you do is draw this triangle. So you draw that triangle intersecting that point, and it'll reach that exact proportion right there. And then we do the same thing over here. Now, if you want to know how to do this, I would suggest going and looking at Robert's work here. This is not actually what I wanted to show you, but this here is now dubbed the Leonardo da Vinci's construction box. And this is actually what I used and what Robert used in relation to discovering the septagon, and then what I've then had a little bit of fun with last night when I needed a bit of a de-stress after everything going on in Melbourne. And I went in and had a bit of fun trying to work out where all the others were. So now Robert found the septagon and the nonagon, the hendecagon, and a few others. So having a bit of fun with that back in the past couple of days, I had to draw them out. And as you can see, like, that's not it there, but over here I had to write out the 7 and so on and so on and so on. And I'll go through them a little bit. But what we have is the intersecting points between this point here and this point here, which is the halfway between the square and the circle, and that creates our base circle for some of these. Not all of them, but for some of them. So that base circle and the septagon is actually the point between this point here. Now this point is an intersection line across from these intersecting lines, but it's also that when you don't realize this until you zoom in, there is a very distinct difference between the intersecting line here and the line that this intersects on. So this actual circle here does not intersect with these two lines. You wouldn't realize it until you really go into a computer graphic representation of this, and you do this to the exact scale, and then you realize that this circle is just a couple decimals shy of that intersection, which changes a lot. I had to find that the absolute hard way when trying to draw the septagon. So when drawing these things, the pencil tends to be a little bit devious as well, because the thickness of the pencil and then where you put the next compass point can shift it all this, just the slightest amount. And I'll show you a thickness point of putting one either here or just a little bit over by less than a millimeter in some cases. And by the time you get around to the very end, you're out miles. And it was quite frustrating, don't get me wrong, but I endured and I went through. So what I wanted to show you is where I found the dodecahedron, or the dodecagon, sorry, and how to construct it. Now, I don't know if this is perfect or not. Robert's actually gone in and found the exact perfect dimensions between the two. Personally, I don't know if these other ones that I discovered are perfect. I've just gone in with compass and square. I don't have the understanding of how to use those programs that can work these sort of things out, nor do I have I'll get the patience to learn how to do it, but not right now. I'm just having a bit of fun today. So what we've got is, as I said, that intersecting line here between this point and this point here, and that gives us our base circle. Now, when we take Da Vinci's square, so this is Da Vinci's square here, and it is the intersecting point, so it's a straight line from this point here up to this point here. Okay, and we need that intersecting square point right there. And then we need to know where it ends. So it's actually the space, the radius of that circle, so to speak, is not this one here, but we need this line. This line comes up to that point on the intersection of that larger square. And I'll just zoom in a little bit here. And what we do is we have this as our central point, and then our radius has to hit this square here, which is actually the inner square that is not actually found within Leonardo da Vinci's work, but it is. It is, but it isn't. Robert's work actually outlines this when you put the square and circle and put all of the compass points back on. And so what you can see here, and I'll just flatten it out a little bit, is you can see this intersecting point right there. So there's the first square. This is Da Vinci's square up here. But then this one here, excuse my really disgusting looking finger there. Wow, sorry, I'm gonna have to treat that. You've got this square here, and you need this one in order to find it. So what I have here is that intersection line between there and there. Now, there are others in here, and you can have a bit of fun with these. I have labeled them so that you can have some fun, and you can probably work out where the intersecting lines are. But for the main ones, you want to also look into Robert's work. He's actually got some decent instructionals as to where they are, and in some cases, I had to eyeball them and figure them out for myself. But here it is. So we take this circle, right? And this circle and the circumference and the area and everything that it makes it. And then we take this base circle here between that point there to the central midline. And then when I come around to, I'll just do this. When we do this, so I've always kept the same circle except for the number 8. The octagon, I actually kept the full radius of the circle, and I'll explain that one a little later. But with the nonagon, Robert goes into how that's created. The hendecagon, I think it was called. I found the decagon through that as well, and I just had a bit of fun last night. And this is by far my favorite, because what we have here is, if you look at it closely, you can see that tube torus. So you've got every single circle. We start off with the main sphere, and you can see that line there that's traversing this entire circumference. You have that as your main base square, so that base 2 that I labeled. And then we have that circle that I just showed you how to find. And then when we hit this on every single intersecting line, so i.e. start at the very top, make your circle with your compass, and then where it intersects with the baseline, keep going around and around and around until you hit the 12th point. Now, what's interesting is when you do this, there is an intersecting line that then occurs between each sphere. And when you run the circle at that point, which is right here, it makes the internal in the internal circles or spheres, and you create this flower petal, and it's just, I just love it. It is absolutely perfect in my eyes. As I said, I don't know if the ratios that I've used there are exactly perfect to the exact decimal point. I actually don't know that. They seem to be, because I'm using only square and compass, and I mean, they're pretty perfect for my own penciling lines. But that being said, the exact measurements, I don't know if that is the 100% case. However, it did produce this beautiful image here, and I'm very proud of it, and that's why I thought I'd show you guys. So that's how you construct the decagon. And these are all proportionate measurements. So for example, the way I need you to understand this, and a little bit of different work here. This is just me mucking around with it and then adding all of the lines here. And I love that little shuriken here, but I'll actually go into this. The way we do this is quite literally, we're just flipping and flipping and flipping. And I'll show you another one that I've done earlier. But what we have is you start off with a straight line and a straight line, and we intersect the circle at the center here. You make your circle and then you make your square around it. So you don't need an actual ruler to do this. It is literally just a compass and a straight piece of metal. You need absolutely no measurements, and that's what's beautiful about this. It is all proportionate to itself, and so each one has the ability to coincide with itself. Now, obviously, we have this circular circumference here, but we used this one here, which is in relation to the Da Vinci square. So Da Vinci square is that central square here. So we have the first one, the second one, the third one. And as I said, go into Robert's material to get a little more information about this, but this is all pretty awesome in itself too, because the proportionate measurements give you very specific values from pi, 2 pi over 4 for this square over here, as well as then the Euler's number, and pi again, and so on and so on. So have a fun with that for anybody who loves just drawing and going into geometry, because when you understand this sort of stuff, you don't realize how much of this is embedded within our world. The nature itself has certain universal laws. When we see this with Fibonacci sequence and stuff like that. But I urge you to just have some fun. Pick up a pencil, pick up a compass, and just have some time to yourself and just draw. And you'll be surprised what you can create. So, for example, ever since I saw that post from Robert, I wanted to know what happens when I fold it in 4. And now there is a decent amount of information that comes in, and I'm sure somebody will have the patience to do this themselves, because as I said, I don't understand algebra very well, or that sort of realm. I'm not very good with mathematics. I can get myself through, but I love patterns. I love working with the shapes and the creation that I can make from them. So I'm more focused on the art rendition and what happens from there, but I still try to understand exactly what makes these things the way they are. So I love understanding Euler's number and pi and its relationship between each other, and so on and so on and so on. But anyway, so what I wanted to show you was, the thing I saw when I saw that was I needed to create this. I wanted to flip Da Vinci's measuring cube on itself on 4 axis points. So we have that triangle there, then we have this one from this point down, and then from this point down, and from this point down, and just to see what might happen. Now, there are probably some inherent measurements in between here that I'm not aware of how to get the information out of this thing, but I wanted to have some fun. And so I present you with this. So as you can see, it's not finished yet, but I was having a little bit of fun and intersecting certain lines and then intersecting other lines that weren't there. So I've just expanded on Robert's work a little bit here for my own personal benefit, just because I wanted to, just because, you know what, I have a pen, I have a ruler, and I want to know where the other lines go. And so I did. And so what I want to show you here, and I drew the flower of life in here, which is the 6 circles surrounding the center. But what I want to show you here is that when we do this, have a look at this. Now, not only do you see that little sort of heart shape, which is pretty cool, but we have these triangular diamond-like points coming out here. And these, to me, I can't shake that feeling of that all-seeing eye every time I see these. And I've seen some geometry work with some other people, like Alex Gray, where he uses a lot of eyes in his work. And every time I look at this image, I always see that eye, and I see it in the center very clearly as well, but I see that in those 4 points, and you can see how those points intersect. And then we've got these sort of rays coming in and out, and you've got that little sort of infinity, but this is actually a cube in a sense here. So there's a lot of info here. It's a little bit of fun that I was going through. I just wanted to have a bit of fun and see what happened, and that's what happened. So I haven't finished that one yet, but I'll post it up once I decide exactly how I want to get there. But I thought I'd share with you the raw footage, because just so you can see where these things sort of, how they come together, and how understanding that little bit of knowledge of, for example, Da Vinci's measuring cube, and how he created the Vitruvian man and the geometry behind all of that, can produce some fantastic stuff after that. And whether you're in it for the artsy side of things, or whether you're in it for the geometry side of things, or whether you're just having a bit of fun, it's always good to learn something. And so I urge you to learn something new every week, every month, every day if you can. Learn something new, something that you never thought you'd want to know. Just have a bit of fun with it. Figure out what else is out there in the world, and keep growing, keep developing your mind, because you never know what you're going to use. And it's not about using it. It's not always about being practical. Half of this stuff that I did here, I was never looking at it for a practicality purpose. It was just purely for me to understand it. And in some cases, it was for me to understand one piece of a bigger puzzle. And in turn, it just extrapolated to a bigger puzzle. And I'm a curious kind of person. I always want to develop and learn more and more and more on a daily basis. So I urge you to do the same. I urge you to have a bit of fun with the world, whether it be in what I'm doing here with geometry and stuff like that, or whether it be something completely unique and something that you enjoy a little more than anything else. So have some fun, go explore this world of ours, see what it has to offer you, and learn something new. You never know what you're going to find, and you never know what you're going to like. You may not realize you have a passion for something until you are exposed to it. And then you're exposed to it and you just flourish. And so that's why I urge you to do so, because you never know what you're going to find. And that's the beauty of that unknown journey. Just delve in head first and see where it takes you. That's it for me, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this little video, and yeah, it'd be interesting to see if anybody else has a bit of fun with this Da Vinci's construction box, and what you guys find. Bye for now.